Hello everyone, Josh here with Texas, bringing you guys some more Cat Fantasy, and today we're going to be going over the two new collab heroes because we now have their full kits available to kind of go over and review and see how good or bad they are in our latest edition of Summon or Skip. Now, the banner themselves are not quite exactly here yet for another few hours because it will be after reset and the maintenance. I do believe that we're going to be having for a few hours before the actual collab event actually drops. However, they did give us the new updated nightmare mode, which already included the two new units information. So we're going to go ahead and check that out right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if we go over here to Kato City, now I was going to do this a few hours ago, but I got very busy and just, life got in the way. You know how that goes. But here we go. So as you can see here, there's a character bonus for the two new units, crit damage up 35% and HP plus 30%. Since that those two units are going to be part of the bonuses for this particular nightmare, we're going to be able to go in and check the units out right now. So we're going to be using this information to go over them and review them and discuss their kits and talk about if they're worth pulling for, because keep in mind, these units will be in their own raid ups and they are collab units, which means when their banners go away, they do not come back, at least for the foreseeable future, whereas other raid up units should be added into other raid up hero banners, aka Dorothy, for example. So we'll have to see how they do that going forward, but let's go and go over Chokola first. Sweet Symphony, yeah, if I could speak. Okay, so these units are all blue, including the new SR, which we're going to talk about after the event actually drops, because I got a lot of good things to say about that SR actually. Whew, all right. So let's go over the ultimate first and just work our way around the board. Ultimate. Manners Coaching deals 398% attack. Now that's almost a 400% raw damage ultimate. The reason why I call it a raw damage ultimate is because there is no other quirk to it. There's no 2 times damage, no 2.5, no 3, anything like that, like a lot of other units have. This is just straight raw damage. So almost 400% raw damage, which isn't really all that high if you think about it, because when you're looking at other units that are doing like 250, 290, blah, 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 and you're doing times 2, times 2.5, I mean, they're getting up in the 500% plus range. However, this hero does gain 30% crit rate for 3 turns. 3 turns is quite a long time, especially when you look into this unit's kit and how she's going to be able to use her ultimate quite often. So, 30% crit rate isn't bad, because then if you build her for crit rate and crit damage, that 400% almost is going to do pretty decent amount for an ultimate. So not terrible. Not terrible. Not the biggest fan of just raw pure damage though in a game like this with all these other crazy quirks going around. But like I said, there are ways to get around it. Skill 1. No wasting food. That's always a good thing. Don't waste your food, guys. There's people out there starving. Eat your food. Never get more than you need. Just get enough. Eat. And then if you have any leftovers, same for later. There ain't nothing wrong with leftovers. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Deal 200% attack as damage to one enemy and grants the combatant 2 SP. Now, she also gains 1 SP on a level 2 of that skill 1, which is more manageable. You're not going to get these off as much. Maybe in World Boss, you'll see a lot of level 3s. But, hey, 1 SP, 2 SP, we all got to pee. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to go. It is what it is. But yeah, she's going to be able to use her ultimate a little bit more effectively because of that. Being able to give herself and generate some more SP. She's a SP battery for herself. Skill 2 goes from 85% all the way up to 133% of thunder damage, which scales to crit damage, which is good because you're going to be building this hero for crit rate and crit damage, so it makes perfect sense. For each stat buff on this combatant, increases base damage by 8%, capped at 40%. So if you are running her with any kind of buffers, which there's a lot of solid buffers in this game, especially some really good free-to-play ones, SR Yunpai, for example, Green SR Mia. I mean, you got some good options just right there alone from a free-to-play perspective. So that's very, very solid. I mean, heck, you even got Anja, which shields are technically considered buffs too, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, there's that. So you got lots of different ways to get her up there in more damage. So right now she's looking like a pretty decent single target damage dealer. All right, passive. This passive is active. This passive is active even when only when she's alive, obviously, and active in all modes. For each ally with the blue pathos in the team, increase this combatant's crit damage by 5.5% which goes up to 8.5%, stacking up to 4 times. So if you're running a full blue team, that's pretty solid. Crit damage increase. Exclusive effect, Kindred Strength, if allied with a NEKOPARA character along Sweet Symphony at the start of battle, this combatant gains 2 SP. Now it says if allied with a NEKOPARA combatant. That means you could probably just run her with the free-to-play SR that we're getting, and you should still get the 2 SP at the beginning, which is going to be strong because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what? Blue team is built for just hitting you with ultimates very hard and very quickly because Danica can also gain 2 SP at the beginning of the battle, and so can our girl Haley. So the blue team in Arena is always going to be very devastating because of the fact that they're going to ult you extremely quickly and all the time, to the point where you're going to be getting 2 ults off if you run any 2 of those combinations of the 3 units we just discussed in a team. You are going to get 2 ultimates off by turn 2 every time, because every time you start a battle, you get 2 of your skill cards to drop for each unit. So yeah, that could be pretty devastating. 1 star. Now this is very important when it comes to like summoning or skipping, especially because, hey, how many times you got to pull this unit before maybe they're actually good? Because sometimes the star ups make these units good or bad, and you kind of need them. Like they're kind of, it's like if you don't have these star ups, they're just going to be doo-doo. They're going to be sitting on the bench. They're never going to be useful, and you don't want to waste resources pulling for a unit that you can't use, right? So at 1 star, after using the ultimate, gains 1 stack of an effect that increases final damage by 10%, stacking up to 2 times. Now I'm assuming that's a permanent stack because it does not say anything about a turn restriction, like, you know, there's a 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn, etc. It just says it stacks up to 2 times. So I'm assuming that's permanent damage. So that 398 is going to go up to what, 408. Not bad, right? I'm sorry, 418. My apologies. After using the ultimate, randomly upgrades 2 skill cards by 1 star. Now we're not entirely sure if that's randomly upgrades 2 skill cards of just her or just any in your deck. If it's any in your deck, that's actually very extremely powerful. And if you run that in World Boss, we're gonna be getting lots of 2 and 3 star skills. You're just gonna have a lot of you're gonna have a lot of gold cards. It's gonna be pretty cool. But yeah, that's not bad at all. 4 star for her is looking really nice. Being able to upgrade any of your cards by 1 star is not bad at all. And the fact that she can do it after every ultimate, and she can kind of somewhat spam her ultimate a little bit. Not as well as some units, but still pretty good considering that she's going to be able to keep using that skill 1 at level 2 and 3 to get more of that SP back. So that's always good, like I said. At the start of the battle, upgrades a no wasting food by 1 star. Whenever you cast a 3-star Eat Properly, it will be followed up by a 2-star Eat Properly. This effect occurs up to once per turn. So basically, at the start of the battle, no wasting food. This one here gets a free star up, which means you're already guaranteed to get a free SP. And if you're running a blue unit, you're already getting 2 SP to begin with. So that's pretty dang solid for potentially hitting 2 ultimates off in just the first few turns. Pretty consistently, I would say. And then, whenever you cast a 3-star Eat Properly, right here, a 3-star one, you then get to use the 2-star one for free. So you're basically doing 233% thunder damage right there. And then you might also have the buffs on the unit to get that additional up to 40% damage for both of those as well. So her damage capabilities are actually pretty solid. They're actually pretty solid. Now, she needs a lot of things to happen. A lot of her kit is definitely relying on you having some star ups here for sure, and obviously using like level 2 and level 3 skill cards. So in World Boss, she's going to be very, very strong. That might be like her best place right now. And then second, I would say maybe PvP. And then after that, it's kind of just, it depends what your team setup is, what you're using in your team, and what you need her for particularly. But she's a solid damage dealer. But like I said, her ultimate is just raw damage. It is just pure raw damage. So it is a higher modifier, but it's not as high if it was a ×2 or ×2.5 or ×3, etc. like a lot of other DPSs out there. So you do have to kind of take that into consideration. But she is giving herself quite a big chunk of crit rate for you. If you add that with Pathos weapons, running around a crit set, her crit rate's already looking pretty solid after you pop that ultimate. And then lasting for 3 turns, I mean, that's plenty of time, especially if you have her on star up. So she's going to be hitting pretty decently and pretty often. So Definitely a solid hero, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm gonna, let's go ahead and talk about the next hero first, because we're kind of making these a package deal because they're both coming at the same time, and when they both leave after the collab, they're gone, right? Unless they ever do this collab way down the road, but we're not gonna, we're not gonna know when that is, if it ever happens. So that's definitely playing a major factor into my overall should you summon or skip that we're going to be discussing in the video at the end. So definitely stay tuned for that. All right, so now we have Vanilla. Kitty Chemistry. Increases all allies' attack by 26% for 2 turns and dispels 3 stacks of debuffs from all allies. That's not a bad ultimate at all. 26% attack up for everybody is solid. Dispelling stacks of debuffs, decent. Skill 1, Kitty's Guardian, goes from 120 to 200% attack as damage to one enemy and inflicts healing scratch on the target for 2 turns. Healing scratch, when attacked, the attacker gains a healing effect equal to 5% of damage dealt. So I guess that's to offset the high modifier that it can go up to on the skill, perhaps. Or maybe the wording on that is backwards. But regardless, it is going to go up to a 200% attack modifier. I don't think the healing scratch is really going to play all that much into, regardless if it's they're taking 5% damage or they're getting healed for 5% damage. It doesn't really matter. It's 5%. It's not going to be all that noticeable, if I'm being honest. But it is a, again, 120 to 200% modifier itself on the actual attack. All right, skill 2, Kitty's Blessing. It triggers 1 discovery, 2 discovery, or 3 discovery, and it also goes for randomly 1 ally, 2 ally, or 3 ally buffs from Kindred Company. So this is what I like to call like the tarot card units. If you've ever played a lot of RPGs, there's a lot of units that are built like around tarot cards where it's a lot of RNG. They give you a lot of cool things. Half of it's good, half of it's not so good, and they just let you just randomly get certain things from that pool of buffs that they have to offer. Sometimes they're stackable, sometimes they're not. It's basically what I just call a tarot card unit. That's what she more or less is. Vanilla is a tarot card unit with this buff, Discovery. Now, if you can get this on a 2 or a 3-star skill pretty consistently, you have a higher chance of getting some decent buffs here for your units, perhaps. Now, I'm not going to say all these buffs are bad. I would say the one that's bad is probably defense up 12%. That's probably the worst of all of them. HP up is pretty decent if you're running a lot of supports. Endurance, same thing. If you're running a couple supports or some tanks in there, or like a red Poppy, for example, or a red Minami, that might not be too bad. But really, for a unit like this and what type of team you're going to probably be building around, you're going to really be wanting more so the pen 6% and the crit damage plus 15%. So really, those 2 buffs are what you're really chasing after here, if we're really being honest. And being able to get those on the 1-star, it's, your chances are a bit low, but I mean, it could happen, but it's a lot of RNG, right? And I don't know, I'm just not the biggest fan of these tarot card type abilities because of how much RNG is played into it. And that could just be a real issue for some people. I mean, it could come in clutch, but sometimes it could completely screw you if you're looking for a particular buff. And the buffs themselves aren't even really all that amazing, right? Because it says triggers Discovery 3 and randomly grants 1 ally 3 buffs. It's choosing the ally randomly. Now, if we could actually select what ally gets all those buffs, it's a different story. But the fact that it's random, I mean, what if it went to like our Anja, for example, and gave her crit damage up and pen up? What is she going to do with that? That's just a small example, obviously. Small piece to a bigger puzzle, you know what I mean? But it could happen, right? Depending on what your team build is going to really depend on how strong this Kitty's Blessing buff is. Okay? Now, I do know when we get into star ups, a lot of that issue does kind of go away, but it's a star up effect on a raid up banner on a collab unit that may never come back. So those star up effects, even if they do fix the initial issues of the skills, we still got to think logically here, right? So again, it's an RNG based ability, at least at 0-star, but I'm just telling you my personal thoughts on what I think about tarot card type abilities. I've never been a fan of them. Like, I could be completely missing the boat here on this, but I'm just kind of going through all the motions and all the different scenarios in which this could be good or bad, right? Okay, I'm just trying to be fair here. All right. Passive increases the crit rate of all allies with blue pathos by 7%, which goes up to 11.2%. I don't know why they always use these weird numbers: 11.2, 12.1, 5.1, 5.7. Like, what are we doing, right? Anyway, so free crit rate, obviously that's gonna be good, especially if you pair up with Chokola or Chokola. You know, that's just more crit for her, and she's already given herself a lot of crit. So again, hey, more damage. Exclusive effect, Kindred Healing. If allied with the NEKOPARA combatants alongside Kitty Chemistry at the start of the battle, all allies receive 12% more healing. You're probably not going to notice that. If I'm being honest, you're probably not going to notice too much of that 12% more healing. I mean, it's going to be there. You're going to see the numbers if you actually look, but it's not going to be super noticeable. So I don't think that exclusive effect is all that great, if I'm being completely honest with you either. I think that one isn't like a must-have, like, oh my god, I got to run her with the SR, or I'm not going to get that amazing exclusive effect. Nah, we're not really there on this one for sure. Star-up effect. At the start of the battle, upgrades a Kitty's Blessing by 1 star. So Kitty's Blessing will go up to 2 stars. So you're going to be getting that random one ally with 2 buffs at the start of the battle. That's a one-time thing. After allies other than Kitty Chemistry cast a 3-star skill card, which will be a bit difficult if you don't have units that can obviously increase your skill cards, or if you're not in World Boss where they do it for you. That will be a bit difficult to get that off consistently. We got to keep that real here. 3-star cards are not just, they don't pop out like candy, right? Kitty Chemistry randomly grants all allies 1 buff from Kindred Company and dispels 2 stacks of debuffs from them. This occurs up to once per turn. Again, that is going to really rely on you being able to consistently get 3-star skill cards to go off. Okay? At the beginning of each turn, randomly grants all allies 1 buff from Kindred Company, prioritizing buffs not yet gained. Now, that is what really takes a lot of the RNG out of it, because if you already have some of the buffs that aren't as helpful, you're going to be guaranteed to get some of the other buffs that you don't have yet, which could give you, one of the ones that you may need, like that HP up, that crit damage up, that pen up, etc. So that isn't terrible there, but it is 6-star on a collab unit, on a raid up unit, and there's 2 raid up units coming at the same time in their own banner. Okay, so this unit is okay. She's decent, nothing special about her. If I'm to grade both of them, out of 10, I'd probably just right off the top of my head give a vanilla a 6, because she's okay. She's a decent buffer. That's more or less what she's going to be. It's pretty much her whole, kit is just buffing. But a lot of her buffs are going to be randomized until you get her up to like a 6-star. And that is going to be extremely expensive, and free-to-plays, forget about it. Casual spenders, forget about it. Chokola, I would say I'd probably give her closer to maybe a 7.5 out of 10. She looks like she's going to be a pretty steady, durable DPS. She looks like she's going to be, a pretty high-end DPS for a bit of time, especially here on Global, until we get some more of these more broken, more game-changing units. But as of what we got right now, the pool of units we have, she's definitely got some, weight that she can pull, because she has some damage output that she can consistently get off because of giving herself that free SP and playing multiple cards that are doing damage, all that bonus damage stacking that she's able to do, the free crit rate she's getting. She's definitely the better unit between these two, for sure. So yeah, I would say, now I'm not even sure what I even rated vanilla again. I'd give her a 6, and I'd give Chokola a 7.5. That's how I'd rate both of them. I definitely like Chokola better between the two. Now, do you summon or skip though? This to me is a very easy skip. And even if we were just to isolate both these units and what they're actually able to do in the, context of what we have available in the game already, like other units that are already readily available that we can summon for and that we're already using, I would definitely say that, vanilla is probably middle of the road right now. Chokola is maybe a little bit more higher end because of her damage output potential. And we don't have that many strong DPSs on Global yet. We have like a handful. So she would definitely fit right in with that pile. But if we were just to say that they were normal raid up units, and we knew that they were going to be coming back in other raid up banners, I would say vanilla is a complete skip. And Chokola would be the one that you'd actually try to go for right now. And we're talking logically from a free-to-play and casual spender's perspective. I never talk from the perspective of the whale, because if they want these units, they're going to go get them. They're going to spend the money to do it, so it doesn't really matter what I say. But if we're talking casual spenders and free-to-plays, you have to be very, scarce with your... you're going to be very, I guess you could say, smart with your resources, and you don't want to go out and waste anything and get yourself stuck with a bunch of 0-star SSRs, then yeah, I would say vanilla would be the skip, and Chokola would be the one you go for. However, that's if they were normal rate ups, okay? That's if they were normal rate ups. And we actually had time to build up our resources, because, 2 weeks in the global, what are we doing here? We might have to make a rant video about that, actually, because that's getting out of control. But these are collab units. They will not be back unless we get a collab again. So these are both. Some are skip. They're skip. Easy skip. No doubt about it. This is whale bait. This is ridiculous that we're getting 2 collab units already, just 2 weeks in the global, when we already have Green Shiro already going on. We already have Dorothy already going on. And Dorothy's still my better pick to go for right now of all 4 of these units currently. So this is ridiculous. Okay, but we'll get into a rant video talking about that later on, and some of the other things that they really need to address with this game, and the financials that the game actually made in the first couple weeks of global launch. We're going to get into all that in that video, trying to deep dive into how they can hopefully fix the game and turn it around. But yeah, those 2 units, definitely skip, easy skip, no doubt about it. Don't even go for them, because what are you going to do free-to-play and casuals? You're going to summon for a unit that's at 0-star? If you're lucky and you've saved up all your resources, or if you're re-rolling, okay, you might get lucky and get one of these units to maybe 1-star. And if that's the case, you would definitely want to go for Chokola, not vanilla. Skip her completely. But even then, both these units look like you're needing to get them to around 4-star or better before they even really start to hit peak potential and start to be really useful and kind of stack up to some of the other units that are already available and ones that will be on their way soon. So if you don't want to completely screw yourself and just pull for the sake of pulling just to be a hero collector, just skip both these guys. It's a collab unit. It's a collab. I know if you're a fan of that, NEKOPARA, I'm sorry, but these are skips. Just take thanks in the fact that the SR that they're going to be giving us is pretty decent, especially if we can get her up to 6-star for free. And that, in my opinion, is the real prize here from the event. But yes, these 2 units, skip 100%. Completely. Just 110% skip both these units. If you're well, who cares? Do what you're going to do. But that's going to be it for me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, take notifications, join us in the Discord in the description below as always. Until next time, peace.